When an entire country and generation after generation gets inspired by one man, even after 70 years of his death, you got to believe that he was a great leader. And so he was. Netaji, which in English translates to a leader, was the title earned by Subhas Chandra Bose. The title which his followers always added with love and respect before they even took his name. Not even Mahatma Gandhi or Nehru earned this title from their followers. Such was the greatness of this man. Even former British Prime Minister Clement Attlee, who signed the Indian Independence Act, when he visited India in 1956, has stated that it was primarily Bose and Indian National Army rebellion that forced British to leave India, and that Gandhi's role was less significant. This was also the statement made by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in his 1955 BBC interview. Politicians, British, history and historians did not do justice to Bose's life. However, as in India we say, Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs. Today everyone recognizes the contribution of Subhas Chandra Bose in India's freedom struggle, despite all the conspiracy theories. Today in 2021, we do not have Netaji among us physically, but he continues to live in every nationalist Indian's heart. What he did for his motherland has made him immortal. It is more important now that we remember and celebrate this man's achievements, since we are in desperate need of great leadership in 21st century in every sector. So what can we learn from Netaji? Well, frankly speaking, a lot. And frankly speaking, the list is too long even to implement in a single lifetime for anyone. However, let me give it a humble and respectful try to even summarize a few which leaders can learn from Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Let's begin. Right from his Calcutta Presidency College days, Bose had a clear vision in mind: drive British away and win freedom for India. Until his death, he never deviated from that vision. Every decision he took was a result of his vision. He was jailed 11 times and tortured by British for his vision. He left his coveted Indian civil service job, where he ranked 4th, just to return to India to fight for India's independence, again for his vision. He won and then left Indian National Congress president position just because that position was not helping him to advance his vision, as Congress wanted to follow the Gandhi way, and Bose was not on the same page with Gandhi regarding the strategy to achieve independence. He risked his own life and fled to Germany to build a global alliance against the British just for his vision. He even shook hands with the infamous Hitler, knowing fully well that he was siding with the evil, but again just for his vision. He could have lived a happy, luxurious life having a prestigious Indian civil service job, and also later on being Congress president, perhaps could have officially become India's first Prime Minister instead of Nehru. However, he sacrificed everything. Everything. Since for him, India's independence was a matter of life and death, and his ultimate goal. If you even think of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, then the first word that will always come to your mind is courage. At the age of 16, Netaji got his admission in Presidency College, Calcutta. A British professor named Mr. Otten used to treat Indian students very poorly at college. Being a racist, he used to even beat Indian students. No one did anything against that since India was under the mighty British rule and British atrocities were well known in all those days. Bose showed courage to complain for the first time against Professor Otten to college principal. And he did not stop there. He even demanded apology from Professor Otten. On not receiving apology, Bose called for student strike and it made headlines in the newspaper. Finally, Professor Otten had to apologize. Bose kept raising his voice against racism, injustice, and even was the leader of Students' Union. As per Bose, a sin of bearing or compromising with a crime is far greater than the sin of doing a crime. For all his national activities, he was expelled from Presidency College in 1916. To fulfill his father's wish, Bose then went to London to study the coveted Indian Civil Service, and he cleared with flying colors, only to leave the prestigious job and come back to India in 1921 to fight for India's freedom. During the time of World War II, Bose wanted to take help of Global Alliance to free India, a move no one will even dare to imagine, since that meant that he had to go to Germany and shake hands with the infamous Hitler and take help of Germans and Japan to build Indian National Army to attack and weaken British in India. But we are talking about Bose. He did exactly that. As per Bose, if he needs to shake hands with the devil just to see his motherland, India, free, so he will. Now you need to understand the courage at display here. Even for a prime minister of a strong country, meeting Hitler in his own den that time was a nightmare. But for a freedom fighter of a poor, enslaved country like India under mighty British rule, not only thought but executing a plan of building global alliance by shaking hands and convincing Hitler and then Japan to help India was not an act for the weak heart. Bose later on built his army and attacked British troops in the eastern part of India in 1944 and unfurled Indian national flag for the first time at Manipur. Many consider that incident as a true Independence Day and Netaji as our first Prime Minister. There are too many instances to cover the power of influence Bose exhibited in his lifetime. When Lord Irwin, the then Governor General and Viceroy of India from 1926 to 1931, proposed Mahatma Gandhi for a dominion status for India, Gandhi and Nehru both thought of that gesture as a sincere. However, Bose did not agree. Bose wanted complete independence from British. So even though Gandhi and Nehru were much bigger in stature as political figure in India, Bose was successful in convincing them to go for Purna Swaraj, complete independence. Another story of his influence over the masses can be seen in 1939. By 1939, Bose became more influential than Gandhi. So even though Gandhi campaigned for Sitaramaiah for Congress presidential election, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose still won and became the Congress president. Clearly shows that people favored Bose because his intent and his work both matched. He walked the talk. Another incident was how he convinced Hitler to support India. His influence over Hitler was so much that though Netaji left Germany for Japan to raise the famous Indian National Army in Singapore, the Germans kept to their side of the deal, even in the face of losing the World War. I must say, there are too many to cover. Bose was the first Indian to rank as a topper in ICS. He ranked 4th. Those days, the top spot belonged to only British. Not only that, Bose took only 7 months to prepare and cleared the ICS, which otherwise was a 4-year curriculum. So obviously that was the breaking news of that time. And Indians back in India started talking about this man. As we know, the vision and the purpose of Bose was too clear for him to lead a comfortable life under the umbrella of ICS. He left his job in 1921 and set sail to India. When his ship arrived at Mumbai, he was shocked to see thousands of people who came to receive him, and some just to see this man. Bose sensed at that very moment that if this small sacrifice can unite and inspire so many people, then if he works hard, he can inspire and unite the whole country to rally against the British. The rest of his journey to enter politics and Congress is history. That strong EQ at play. Another incident was when he met Hitler in Berlin in 1942. Bose studied about Hitler long back, so he knew exactly the dictator's mindset. He praised Hitler with phrases like "old revolutionary." Then he used Hitler's anger against the British to showcase British as a common enemy of India and Germany. At the same time, Bose was also quick to ask Hitler to modify or take out the derogatory comments he made about Indians in his book Mein Kampf, knowing fully well that it might irate the Führer. However, the way he reasoned it showcases both his wit and EQ. Bose said that Hitler's comment on Indians not only was not correct, but it might be used by British to instigate Indians against the Germans as well. Bose knew that the strong and powerful can only exercise forgiveness and mercy to the weak, but never respect weakness. So he had to point this one out, since he was troubled by that line for years. And by stating his dislike openly on Hitler's face will send the right signal to the Führer that Bose is a strong and fearless leader. Another incident was when Bose reached Japan with the help of Germans and met Prime Minister Tojo. He once again displayed his emotional intelligence by talking about Asians and Buddhism connect between India and Japan, and convinced Tojo to help India. However, Bose's greatest chapter for me in terms of displaying emotional intelligence was to form the Indian National Army. Those days, during the World War II, British used Indians to fight war for them. 90% of the British Army consisted of Indians. An approximate size of 2.5 million Indian men fought for British, and about 85,000 lost their lives. This current day, we cannot even imagine that you can use another country's men as slaves to fight war for your own country's benefit. Bose always knew that Gandhi's path of peace is good for peaceful times. But when the entire world is in chaos, no one will even listen to the weak. He knew that he had to raise an army even if peace had to be achieved. Only the strong can preach and establish peace in the world. No one listens to the weak talking about peace. Bose realized that the slavery mindset of Indians has seeped in so deep and infected all. Indians took service in British Army as a prestigious job rather than an insult. Bose used the spirit of nationalism to awake the sleeping patriots in all Indians. When he was in Japan, he knew Japan was planning to attack Singapore, which was then under British Army control. And he knew that out of 85,000 British troops, around 45,000 of them were Indians. So this was a golden opportunity for him to influence the Indians. The only way you can awake someone sleeping is not an explosion always, but an inner implosion of shame and guilt. So he asked Tojo to drop pamphlets along with the bombs in which there was writing in Hindi, Tamil, English and other Indian languages stating, "How long will you do slavery for British Army?" It worked like magic and started rebellion within the British Army, and Singapore lost to Japan. Japan was very happy and rewarded Bose with Indian war prisoners, using which Bose created the Indian National Army. Later on in 1944 at Burma, at INA rally, Bose gave the speech that made him immortal. Like all great leaders of the world who could deliver a vision in clear and simple terms that appeals to all, Bose uttered those words, "Give me blood and I'll give you freedom." This inspired not only INA to invade India and liberate Moirang at Manipur and hoist Indian national flag, but also later on when Netaji died in a plane crash, caused revolts in Indian Royal Navy and Army, which helped the cause for Indian independence greatly. Even the Western world and the strong countries like Japan, Italy, Russia, and Germany of that time suffered from male chauvinism, leave alone the weaker enslaved countries. Bose was of a different metal. He was a devout Hindu and a follower of Dharma. In Indian tradition, the queens not only needed to be beautiful but also needed to be brave to wield the sword to protect Dharma and soil. India is filled with stories of brave queens who fought war fearlessly and gave their lives. In his speech, Why I Left Home and Homeland, he said, "I want also a unit of brave Indian women to form a death-defying regiment who will wield the sword which the brave Rani of Jhansi wielded in India's first war of independence in 1857. Bose was responsible to bring in women in Indian National Army and create the first woman regiment, which was the first of its kind in the whole world, and it was named actually the Rani of Jhansi Regiment. Under the command of Captain Lakshmi Saigal, the Rani of Jhansi Regiment was known for attracting members of all ages from different backgrounds, giving women the outlet to come out of their homes and fight for their nation. Bose also had men from different regions and religions to join his Indian National Army. Whether it's Hindu, Sikhs, Muslims, Tamilians, Bengalis, Biharis, Marathas, he treated them all equally and like brother in arms. Bose cultivated a brotherhood feeling in the INA. His commitment to the safety of the members of Women's Regiment and the INA was paramount. During the enemy's aerial bombardment and machine gun assault, Netaji refused to take shelter until the last of his volunteers had taken refuge. At the end of the war, when the Japanese offered him a car but did not arrange transport for his soldiers, Netaji refused to travel alone. He marched from Rangoon to Bangkok through the jungles for 3 weeks with his soldiers, braving the enemy's assault. His empathy towards his combatants greatly impressed everyone, including the Japanese. When the war was over, Bose quickly disbanded the women's regiment and sent the girls back home before the enemy could discover their identity. He did this to protect the honor of women. Empathy must be practiced and not spoken about. It is a daily drill. Empathy is really a rare quality seen in leaders these days. It is difficult to practice empathy if you are far, far away from people. Remember, Netaji not only stood on stage and gave directions and orders and speeches, he rubbed his shoulders with his fellow soldiers, and that's how respect is earned and feeling of trust develops.
दिल्ली जाएंगे हम अपना हिंद बनाएंगे फौजी बन के रहना है दुख दर्द मुसीबत सहना है